Welcome. You're listening to Coffee Break with Purdue Engineering, a podcast production from the Office of Future Engineers at Purdue University. In this podcast series, we discuss the many programs, majors, and opportunities found in Purdue Engineering through conversational interviews with staff, faculty, alumni, and current students. We hope you enjoy our show and it helps answer some of your questions about what it's like to be an engineering student at Purdue. All right, welcome to this week's episode where we will be discussing Purdue's electrical engineering, or as we might call it, EE major. I'm one of your hosts, Calvin Given, a current graduate student in electrical and computer engineering from Lakewood, Colorado.
And I'm your other host, Bryan and Calvin. I'm a sophomore, also in electrical engineering from Miami, Florida. Some things I'm involved with on campus are the National Society of Black Engineers, the Minority in Engineering Program, and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And this week we are joined by Jessica Mew.
Hi guys, my name is Jessica Mew. Thank you, Calvin and Bryan, for having me this week.
Of course.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, of course. A little bit about myself. I am a senior in my last semester in electrical engineering at Purdue. I am originally from Kansas City, Kansas, and outside of being involved on campus with PSEF, which is the Purdue Student Engineering Foundation. We're a big outreach org. I also compete with the Purdue equestrian team and help out with the College of Engineering Ambassadors program.
Awesome. And yeah, we'll definitely dive into some of those clubs and organizations you're involved in with Purdue here in just a little bit. But what do you like about growing up from Kansas City? What are some of your favorite hobbies? I know we just talked about how you were training to run a marathon. That's super exciting.
And I assume you're a Chiefs fan?
Yeah, I am. I didn't just jump on the bandwagon, though.
That's the wrong choice.
I've been going to the game since we sucked. But yeah, I love Kansas City. I think it's so underrated. I just like that it's a really good balance of suburbia, and then you have some of that city presence there.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously have some pretty great athletics going on there, which might be a controversial take. But I like that you can just kind of find everything you want in Kansas City, whether that's like, you know, going out into the cornfields or going into the city to go see concerts or football games. It's all within like 30 minutes of each other.
Yeah, is this your first marathon that you're training for?
Oh, yes, hobbies. So this is my first marathon I'm training for. I didn't really start running until college, just because I feel like it's one of the easier forms of exercise to do in college.
There's a lot of people who would disagree with you, but I agree with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's less equipment involved, so that's what made it easier. But yeah, I'm training for my first marathon right now, which is super fun. It's been a good way to get to know the off-campus areas as I've had to extend some of my training. And then outside of that, I also really love baking and cooking. And then, like I mentioned, I've been riding horses since I was a little kid, so I also do that with the Purdue team here.
Wow.
Yeah, what's your favorite thing to bake?
Oh, I love banana bread.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it sounds so good right now.
It's a good choice. My thing that I bake at home is pumpkin chocolate chip banana bread.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's as good as it sounds. We make them into muffins. Sometimes we do loaves, but a lot of times we do muffins. And
next time you make them, let me know if you have extra. I want to try that.
Will do. And I guess so. Coming from Kansas City, how'd you end up at Purdue? Because you're an out-of-state student, and what made you settle on Purdue, and what was your journey like getting here?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I didn't decide on engineering until the end of my junior year of high school. And so when I started looking into engineering programs, Purdue obviously has a very robust reputation as a really good engineering school. And they also did really good outreach, I would say. I got lots of postcards, Zoom meeting invites from women in engineering at Purdue, the Office of Future Engineers, and it was just really welcoming, and I was able to learn a lot about the program before I even stepped foot on campus. But what I was really looking for in that college experience with engineering is a bigger engineering school. So a lot of the schools I looked at were kind of similar to Purdue from the statistical profile side, where it's big school, public, with a strong engineering foundation.
Yeah.
But when I came and visited Purdue, that's when it really clicked. I think it was just really cool seeing students excited about engineering here, really involved with it, and they were really talkative with each other. There was a lot of collaboration that I could see firsthand that I didn't necessarily see at a lot of the other schools I visited, and that's something that really stuck with me at Purdue. And it translated too through all the virtual meetings that they set up. So from like the first day, Purdue felt very welcoming, and that's kind of how I ultimately ended up deciding on Purdue.
I'd say I've had a very similar feel too. I feel like a lot of people have a very similar experience. And and now talking more about the double E, how would you kind of describe electrical engineering and like the different concentrations and maybe potential minors you're taking?
Yeah, electrical engineering is extremely broad, as I'm sure both of you know.
As so many majors are.
Yes, I think it's a constant debate of which major is the most applicable in any industry, and everyone's biased, so I'm of course biased towards double E. I think you can really take it any direction with small scale projects, large scale projects. You know, you've got things like generators, which are huge and they're powering like half the country, but then you also have like something as small as a microchip that's going inside your cell phone. So it's really cool the different applications that you can put it into, and that's kind of the first thing that drew me to electrical engineering. But then the second thing is that it integrates a lot of those math and physics principles that kind of drew me to engineering in the first place. So I liked that there was a lot of tangible results with what you work on in electrical engineering. Like I could typically see what I'm building and how it works.
See the circuit.
Yeah, I can't see what's going on inside the circuit, but you can see the circuit. So that's kind of why electrical engineering stuck out to me. Within electrical engineering, there's, like I mentioned, a lot you can do with it. There are concentrations, and they're adding more concentrations
I believe
every year.
Currently there's 6.
That sounds right.
An artificial intelligence, machine learning one, a power systems, controls one, a fields and optics one, and then a like very large scale circuit design one.
Yes, and then they're adding semiconductors.
Yes. Yep, and there's also a quantum technology concentration.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff happening.
So tons of ways you can do electrical engineering for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Are either of you in concentrations or have minors? Because I don't. But I kind of like naturally with my curriculum specialize more towards controls, but I don't have a formal.
Yeah, when I was going through it, concentrations kind of showed up midway through my degree. So I did not declare a concentration, partially because they showed up midway through, but also partially because electrical engineering was so broad and I had no idea where inside of it I wanted to specialize. So I took a sampling of all kinds of different classes. And so while the concentrations exist and they can be a great way to specialize the degree into an area if you know you're interested in that area, they're by no means necessary in order to get a lot out of that electrical engineering degree. And I know, Bryan, as a sophomore, are you looking at doing a concentration?
So yeah, I kind of looked at like the different concentrations, and I think I'm going to be declaring one soon. I don't know which one I'm between so I'll be figuring it out very soon. But I'm doing this in a way to kind of specialize, because for me, engineering's always been so broad, and I feel like me choosing electrical engineering got it a little bit more specific, but I want to get as specific as I can.
Yeah, that
I know recruiters are very interested in they like when people know what they want to do. And I know whenever I talk to a recruiter, I'm down to do anything. So it's great. They're like, oh, that helps not at all.
Exactly. And so I guess, did you come into first year engineering knowing that you wanted to do electrical engineering? Or how did first year engineering help you make that decision? What resources were available to you? And how did you go about choosing electrical engineering and why?
Yeah, so that's actually a story that I tell my tours all the time. Because like I mentioned earlier, I didn't decide on engineering until the end of my junior year of high school. And then everyone was kind of like, hey, in 5 months you need to submit college apps and decide a major. And most programs are direct admit. So I literally had to choose a major, even though I didn't really have a lot of background or context into what I was getting myself into. So when it came to picking that major, I literally just Google searched which engineering degree makes the most money. And electrical was pretty much universally the top answer. If you're wondering what was second, it was chemical engineering. But I was kind of just like, all right, Mom, I'm going to be an electrical engineer. And that's kind of, so technically, yes, I did come into first year engineering thinking I wanted to do electrical engineering, but there wasn't a lot of ground to actually
there
justify
wasn't a lot of
that
foresight
decision.
before you were like, I think I want to go electrical.
Yep. But that's where first year engineering served as a really nice buffer to figure that out. So I definitely was in between a few different majors through that program. The way first year engineering kind of helps our students figure out what path they might want to go down is through the first year engineering courses you take. Throughout each semester, you work on different projects that are kind of geared towards different majors. So I remember doing one project that was a water dam design, which was more like civil engineering, and that's where I kind of got a really big interest in civil. Another one I remember, we were assigning seats on a flight. We were writing a program to do it.
Yep.
And that was supposed to be more like computer/industrial engineering. So through those projects, I got a better idea of what I was looking for. And I got kind of split at the end, but ultimately I ended up choosing electrical engineering for real this time because I liked how broad the applications were. I kind of connected it back to why I chose engineering in the first place, which is that it is really connected in those fundamental engineering methods and principles of the science and the math. And then I liked that, as a freshman, you don't always know what you want to do. So it was nice that I had options with electrical engineering and I could switch directions at any time.
Yeah.
And the pivot wouldn't really affect my career path.
That's
and also
awesome.
the salary is pretty steep.
Yeah. But don't make the decision just based on
definitely
on the salary. If
Don't
you
do
are
what I
not a
did.
fit for electrical engineering and you try to do it just because you're going to make a lot of money, it's going to be a brutal time. And
all the engineering
all of
pay
the
well,
engineerings
very
you
well.
want to be in the one that you're actually passionate about, because that's going to make not only your time here at Purdue, but also your career for the rest of your working life.
Yes.
Maybe not the rest of it, but for at least the start of it, that's going to really dictate what you're doing in there. And so if you're miserable in the engineering major that you chose, that's not going to be a good sign for how well you're going to enjoy your job.
Yeah.
And so I'd highly recommend choosing an engineering major that you're interested in. And then also, if you're looking at one, and that's something that really helped me was the first year engineering, I didn't know which one I wanted to go into coming here. And it was through those projects, like you were saying, as well as the engineering your major sessions, where each program puts on here's what the major is, here's the classes you'll take, here's the kind of career outlooks in that major. And so between those two things, that's what helped me decide on electrical engineering at the end of my first year.
Yeah, and I guess so after your first year, what are some of your favorite courses you were able to take, or maybe even first year, but kind of more so in double E?
Yeah, I honestly think my favorite courses I've taken in double E have been on the back end of it. So what I've taken this senior year, I took Controls 1 last semester, so fall senior year, and I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. I really liked that I could kind of see the applications of
Did you
it.
have Professor Sundaram?
Yes, and Sunaram is awesome too.
Yes,
so that
he's
definitely played a huge part of it. And that definitely was the reason why I decided to take Controls 2 this semester, which is also probably tied for my favorite course. It's taught by Professor Pare. He also has taught Python in the past, if you guys have had him, but he is also awesome. So again, probably plays into it, but I just really like the content, and when they pull examples in class, I can actually map out the application and kind of see the connection.
Yeah, that's really cool. And are there lab classes in electrical engineering? And I know both Bryan and I could speak to this too, but what was your favorite lab course?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it might be a problem, but as an engineer, like labs actually weren't my favorite classes. I think I like digging into the design and the material more than the implementation, but labs are a really cool way to kind of see what you're learning be put directly into something in front of you. So I think the first aha moment I really had was in ECE 2K8, which is the second fundamentals of circuits lab that you take sophomore year spring. And I remember one project we were building a heart rate sensor from scratch. And that was really, really cool because these devices that you've used in the past. I had no idea I could just kind
watch
of
you're wearing on your wrist.
Yeah, breadboard, which is crazy, but that's really where it all starts. So that was kind of one of the classes I really enjoyed because, again, being able to see the connections of what you know and use with what you're learning.
Yeah, Brian, I know you're only just starting the electrical engineering curriculum, but I guess out of 2K8, 2K7, or 270, which lab has been your favorite so far?
I definitely think 2K7 was my favorite lab. I don't know. I just thought.
Hot take.
Yeah, I know. Like even the thing we did at the end, like it was the audio equalizer.
Yeah,
like I just had a lot of fun doing that. So just for me so far, it's been that.
Yeah, I really like the 362 lab.
I've heard really good things
which
about that one.
is actually a computer engineering core course and an electrical engineering elective, but I really enjoyed that. It's a microcontroller course and essentially how you program a microcontroller, and it was really cool to see some of the applications that the microcontrollers can have and the fact that they're pretty much everywhere in industrial settings because they're basically little computers that do very specified tasks. And so that was actually something I used in my senior design project, was we had to program a microcontroller to accomplish that. And
you had a really cool senior design project. Yeah.
Okay.
Calvin's being modest, but he won an award for his senior design project.
We got second at the Spark Design Challenge, and the project that I created was essentially a GPS tracker that had your GPS location as well as the other people in your group's GPS location that was transmitted over radio waves. So if you're hiking in the wilderness and you and your group separate or get lost or get separated or say, okay, we're going to meet up here, you'll actually know where they are if you don't have cell coverage and Find My iPhone is not working. Wow. We were able to get just over 2 miles line of sight for a range test, which was better than we were expecting with the just off the shelf products that we were buying for the prototype. And so it was really cool to just see how in senior design those projects and everything you've learned across the curriculum can actually come together into a single project. Do you want to talk about your senior design project, Jessica? Because yours was also super cool.
In theory.
Yeah.
Mine did not turn out quite as successful as Calvin's did. We did not walk away with a cash prize. But like he mentioned, it's a really good learning experience to kind of integrate everything you've learned over the past few years. So we built a drone with wireless charging and automated pickup capabilities. Wow. So I was on the automated pickup capabilities side, which used a microcontroller to trigger the system to actually
grasp the package.
Yes, exactly. We had some trouble getting the wireless charging to work, so that was not super successful in the final demonstrations, but what they're really looking for is your learning process throughout the semester, that you know which principles you're applying in the project and that you kind of develop that approach to testing and improvement and iterations, because the course is structured so that throughout the semester you meet certain progress checks, and that way you can also hold yourself accountable as a group to make sure that you're not jumping into things too far and you actually have a draft of things before you put them into implementation.
Yeah, and I honestly really enjoyed the senior design class, and I felt like it was just a great experience to cap off the degree. And I guess moving on from that a little bit, are there any electrical engineering clubs that you know about that are more electrical engineering specific, or ones that you're involved in that you'd want to touch on?
Yeah, clubs are obviously a super important part of your time at Purdue. I was not in any electrical engineering specific organizations, but I do kind of know a bit about the different clubs that UCEE students gravitate towards. So the way I see it is you kind of have three splits of organizations. You've got social organizations, professional, and then technical. And within technical clubs, you see a lot of electrical engineering opportunities. We've got the Purdue Electric Racing Team, which builds a car every year, and then they actually compete against other universities around the country, which is really cool. And they all race their cars around a track, and it's entirely student run with the parts they order, figuring out corporate sponsorships, and then actually building this car, which is really, really cool. And there's a lot of teams that are similar to that. The Purdue Space Program is always in need of electrical engineers to build their rockets, and they have multiple rockets that they're building. We even have teams like IEEE, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, that are building submarines. So there's really all kinds of different technical orgs you can get involved with, but then the ECE department also has specific professional and social organizations. So there's Women in ECE, where I attended like one or two events my freshman and sophomore year, but that was fun to meet other women who were in the department. And then there's also EC ambassadors, so that's where you kind of interface with prospective electrical engineering students and tell them more about the program, similar to kind of what we're doing today.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved with Double E.
Yeah, and our guests are I know you talked about the Purdue Student Engineering Foundation, or PSEF, and also the College of Engineering Ambassadors. So how did you get involved in those clubs? What are they about? What do you like about those ones? Which of those three categories do they fall into?
Yeah, so PSEF, or the Purdue Student Engineering Foundation, definitely falls into the professional box, I would say. I found out about PSEF freshman year through my mom, actually. I really wanted to get involved after first semester. I felt like something was kind of missing on my campus experience, so she did some research and she recommended I apply. So I kind of just took a chance, and I really liked what I learned about the organization at Callouts, and how the mission is so impactful on the students that it interacts with. And since being a part of it, I have loved every minute of PSEF. Basically, what we do is we are the largest engineering outreach organization at Purdue. We interact with over 30,000 prospective students every year, alongside the OFE, Office of Future Engineers, to help high school students in their college decision process with Purdue Engineering and give them an honest experience, an account for what their next 4 years could look like. The way we do that is through events like tours, broadcasts, and then panels. It's just really cool to talk about your experience and then see that kind of propagate onto future students, because every fall I'll have students come up to me and they'll be like, "You were my tour guide." Sometimes they'll even be like, "You were the reason I chose Purdue." And that's a really cool feeling, to know that you played a part in the biggest decision that a student will make in their academic time. So that's like the professional part that I've really loved about PSEF. But aside from that, it's just a group of really passionate engineers, and it has been one of my biggest communities that's gotten me through the last 4 years, because engineering isn't always easy, but it's a lot easier when you have other engineers there to support you and get you through it. So they're definitely like my best friends on campus.
And that's one of the great things about Purdue Engineering, is the collaborative nature of it. You have and are encouraged to have those support networks with your peers to get through engineering, because like I said a day or two ago to a prospective student, the engineers and the curriculum is designed to be hard, and you're not always going to be able to solve every single question. And that's okay. And it's preparing you for the work that engineers do, because inherently engineers are innovating and designing the next generation of things. So they're doing things that don't have a predetermined formula, don't have a process already in place, and you have to make that up. And so it's teaching you that persistence and that innovation here while you're an undergrad.
Yeah, and talking about like those different experiences, have there been any projects or research opportunities that you've like really enjoyed at your time here?
Yeah, I haven't gotten involved with research, unfortunately, during my time at Purdue.
Yeah, you should have. It's super easy. Easy to get involved in.
It's super cool, though. It is really easy, actually, to get involved with research at Purdue, which is sidebar, something I love about Purdue Engineering is that when we admit you into Purdue Engineering, we want you to be a Purdue engineer. So you get all these experiential opportunities as early as your freshman year, which includes research. And that's not something that you can necessarily say at every school. But alas, I did not take advantage of that. Definitely one of my regrets looking at in the last 4 years. I think it builds a lot of really good skills, not having a kind of guided structure already there for you on what to do. I went more so with the internship route. So if you want, I can kind of talk about some of those experiences.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
of course. So I've done 3 internships. My first internship was at an engineering procurement firm called Burns and McDonnell. They're headquartered in my hometown of Kansas City. And that first summer, I worked in their power grid division. So the grid and generators, all of that. Really cool work, but wasn't necessarily my speed. It did affirm my interest, though, in working on large-scale projects with my EE degree. So the next summer, I did go back to Burns and Mac. I wanted to be home for another summer, but I switched departments into their aviation and federal division. And that summer, I was doing lighting and power design for aviation buildings, so things like hangars and defense contracts. Again, really cool, but that's when I started to pivot away from the construction industry. I realized that I was more interested in the projects that were happening inside of the buildings that I was designing and supporting. So last summer, at my most recent internship, I was at United Airlines on their cabin systems engineering team. So we were supporting all of the electrical configurations, updates, etc. on the cabin portion of the plane. So I mostly worked with IFE or in-flight entertainment. But that was a really cool experience. And I think internships are a great way to kind of test out what you're learning in industry and practice, and it's not super committal, right? And I kind of had that experience where I played around with what I do and don't like until I found something that I was really like, hey, this is where I like to take my degree.
And then how did you kind of get these opportunities? Was this career fairs or through PSEF?
Yeah,
or how did you get these
really good question. So Burns and Mac, I actually, that freshman year, I, like any freshman, didn't really know what I was doing. So halfway through the year, I was just kind of like, I really want an internship. And I shot through a ton of applications, heard back from 2, interviewed with 1, which was Burns and Mac, but you only need 1 offer. So that's kind of how I got that one. I didn't go to any career fairs since I decided pretty late. But I definitely think having Purdue University is kind of what pulled my application from the pile with Burns and Mac.
We have around 5% of all practicing engineers are Purdue Engineering alumni.
From
which
one
is
school.
Wild considering how many engineering schools there are in the country. But yeah, sorry, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you see that at your internships. It's really just anywhere. There's so many Purdue Engineering grads all over. And they're always really excited to meet more. But yeah, so that's how I got Burns and McDonnell. But then junior year is when I went to those career fairs, kind of really utilized a lot of the resources available on campus. And then also when you're a junior, the floodgates kind of open. Instead of you finding a job, the job is finding you. So it feels nice to be wanted junior year as opposed to freshman, sophomore year where a lot of students do you have to put in a little more work on their end to get those internships. But I did go to IR, Industrial Roundtable. That's our largest career fair. It's actually the largest student-run career fair in the nation, which is really cool. Over 400 companies come, and I think the coolest part is that most of those companies that are recruiting there have alumni as their representatives. So it's so much more of a personal relationship. It's not just here's my resume, yes, no, good luck. They'll actually remember you if you go up to them the next year, or if they can't give you an offer up front, they can give you advice on what classes to take, clubs to get involved in. A lot of them come a few days beforehand to prep students so that they can do well at these interactions, which I think is really cool. So IR, I got some offers there, but I think the biggest one is that outside of IR, we have companies coming in throughout the
just
year.
on a daily basis.
And they'll just set up a table in the mechanical engineering building or double E. The way I got United was they were just tented up on a random day in the aerospace engineering building, Armstrong, and I was studying there. So I saw them, and we always say it's a good idea to keep an extra copy of your resume in your backpack for this reason, is you never know who you're going to run into. So that's exactly what happened that day. I had an extra copy, so I went up and talked to them, and they were able to fast forward my application through the process, get me to the interview stage, and that's ultimately how I got that offer.
That's awesome.
Well, that's awesome. And I know you're going to be graduating here in just a couple of months. And so what's the next step look like for you? And really, how has Purdue set you up for that next step? And how has the opportunities and things that you've had available to you while you've been here reaffirmed your love for the major?
Yeah, so as far as next steps go, I will be planning to enter the workforce and get a job with my double E degree. Where that is, I'm still figuring that out. I'm actually in the thick of it right now. I have a job offer deadline coming up really soon.
Got to accept it or deny it?
That's what we're figuring out, because I have another one that I also need to think about. So kind of just filtering out through those decisions. But I do know that I want to go into the commercial aviation space with my electrical engineering degree. And that's where Purdue was really helpful, is that I was able to get all these internship experiences so early on, thanks to the skills that Purdue Engineering built up. And I have an idea of what I want to do, so I was able to get offers in that industry. And then maybe go back to grad school for an MBA one day, but I think this is probably not the direction you want me to take this. But with my engineering degree at Purdue and through my student involvements, I found that I really love that balance of working with people in engineering. So I'm probably going to pivot away from the super technical side of double E and more into the people side of it. So that's probably the long-term plan. But I definitely owe everything to Purdue Engineering. It's crazy. I'm sure Calvin can also attest to this. Just looking back on the last 4 years, how much you're able to experience in just 4 years. And so much of that, if not all of it, is accredited to the people at Purdue, the resources it gives you, and the doors that it opens, because we are such an established engineering program that you have alumni almost everywhere. And Purdue University itself has connections almost everywhere. And it's a really, really cool environment to be a part of. And, it's sad to graduate, but it is exciting to kind of be a part of that alumni network, because every Purdue engineering alum I've met has been so willing to give their time back to the university and their energy back. And it's exciting to be a part of that network too, and to know that there's so many of them out there.
Yeah, and I think you definitely didn't take that a bad direction at all. I think it's very important to note that engineering degrees, especially when you're looking at them from a university that's as collaborative and team-oriented as Purdue is, they allow you to pivot in a lot of different directions after you graduate. And that's why, my dad, he has an engineering degree, and he works in management, essentially. So he's definitely more on the people-oriented side of things, and it's really cool that engineering degrees allow you to jump a lot of different directions. So you might have gotten your degree as a double E, but you may not be practicing as a double E just because of those skills that are inherently built into the engineering curriculum here at Purdue.
It gives you a really good mindset and strategy, I would say. And how you approach problems.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jessica. We really enjoyed having you on the podcast today. And we have one final question.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone looking into Purdue Engineering?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is to it's going to come out really direct, but nothing is ever that deep, actually. And when you start to trust yourself more, let go of that stress more and the feeling that you need to control a lot of it more, the successes come a lot easier and you have so much more fun doing it. I think that's my biggest piece of advice, is don't forget to have fun, because engineering is one where it's super easy to just dig yourself into the weeds, dig yourself into a hole, and you forget that like there's other parts to like the college experience, and that also when it does get tough, it's going to be okay. I didn't have a clean record with classes through all 4 years. Like I mentioned, engineering got tough at some times, but I would like to say that I came out of it in the end, and I'm all good, and I can still reflect on a like overall very positive experience. So my biggest piece of advice is don't forget to have fun with it. Just remember that like it can feel really serious sometimes, but it's never that serious, and you'll be okay, especially with the people around here to support you.
That's really good advice.
Very well said. And it's also important to note real quick that while the engineering degree is very rigorous, there's time to be a person outside of being a student. And I know we've touched on that in some of the other episodes. I guess, did you have anything to add on that topic? I know we said the last question was going to be that one, but...
No, I don't think so. Just, have fun. Next 4 years are going to be really, really, really cool. Make the most of it.
Yeah, well, that concludes this week's episode. As always, thank you guys for watching. Please reach out to the Office of Future Engineers or the Purdue Student Engineering Foundation if you have any additional questions.
And we'll see you guys next week.